Hey everyone, I hope you are well joining us. This one is going to be a really cool episode as I'm joined again by a great person that I know, which is Liam, and we're going to be talking about Spider-Man. So without further ado, let's kick this off. Hey everyone, I hope you're well playing and or making the games that you love. You're joining me, your host, Max Pears, and as I mentioned just earlier, we're joined by a special guest, Liam. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, man. Good. I'm glad to be back. Thanks for having us.
Glad to have you back. No worries, man. And for those who don't know, Liam was on one of the previous episodes where we both talked about God of War and broke it down and talked about the design that we really loved about this. And I decided, because it was a really fun episode for me and hopefully for himself as well, that we'd do this again for one of the other big hitters of the PlayStation in 2018, and that was Spider-Man. And I'm super excited to talk about this one, because you really enjoyed it as well, didn't you, mate?
Yeah, man. I think this was another one I suggested to you, if I'm honest, like the God of War.
I mean, we're keeping that one a secret, keeping it a secret.
Keeping it a secret again, yeah. Like, this was really good. This is what I wanted in a hero game for a while. Like, this reminded us of Arkham, when Arkham first came out, and it was actually fun to play as a superhero, as opposed to older superhero titles like the Superman games that were just clunky and weren't organic at all. This one actually, this one really grabbed us.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's with the fact that we see so many superheroes dominating the big screen in terms of films and TV, it's been a while since we've had a proper superhero game. As you mentioned, the Arkham franchises were definitely the last which had the biggest impact on the video game industry, and I think this one's a great job by Insomaniac, who've, come full steam ahead and just released a very, very fantastic game,
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about a few things in this. We're going to be talking about sort of the mechanics that we really liked from a design perspective, how we found the whole game, and, narrative and all this amazing stuff to try just help you understand what we see when we're looking at video games as well. So I'm going to kick this off. The first very interesting thing to me, and it was mentioned by quite a few people, is that where it starts in contrast to Peter Parker's life, because it's its own kind of spider universe, there's quite a few differences. Now, we take place when Peter, he must be late 20s to 30s, I want to say. Maybe not that old, but he's definitely very much into his career as Spider-Man. This isn't his origin story by any means.
I think it's 21, 22-ish. I'm sure he's straight out of college. So, yeah, it's still early in his career.
Alright, he looked a lot older then, my bad.
He's not rocking 30, that's for sure.
He doesn't moisturize, that's his problem.
That's
moisturize. It's my life lessons to those. But yes, well, that's really interesting though, isn't it? Because it's not an origin story compared to most, and I thought that was a very, very cool move that Insomniac had done.
Yeah, thank God, man. How many times do we need to see Uncle Ben die? I'm sick of that story, and there's so many clever storylines for Spider-Man that I feel like the way that Insomniac started this game off just proves that they were fans of the comics and the character Spider-Man, so they didn't want to see the Uncle Ben storyline or the origin story because everyone knows it. So yeah,
I agree. I think it's one of those ones, especially when you think about that Spider-Man was the first proper, well, in my opinion, it was the first, movie to bring superheroes to the main screen with Tobey Maguire back in the early 2000s. And I think I completely agree with you. And also what's interesting about this one is when you play as Spider-Man, you feel a bit more in control of this. You know what I mean? He's got quite a lot of movesets available to him from the go. You obviously have the skill tree as well. But the fact that the swinging, there's already quite a lot in there, and we'll talk about the swing in depth a little bit later on, but in terms of how he already interacts with certain things, like how you've got X to spring yourself, and then you've just got your traditional swing as well, you already feel like he's already got a grasp of it, because there's already those different move sets available to the player as well, kind of showing that he has, spent that time already becoming Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the tutorial, if you can even call it that, is great. The way it flows straight from a cutscene to him jumping out the window to him swinging down the street, and then goes into slow motion and is like, this is how you swing, this is how you jump. Like, it's all very organic, and it was a very clever tutorial. Again, if you can even call it that.
No, I agree with you. I think that was one of the things, again, they did right with it. It was, like you said, it didn't feel, like stopping you all the time, or it didn't restrict your movement from it. It was very much, as you said, organic from that, and I think what I also liked with the story is they took a lot of liberties in terms of character relations, and I think that was a great one. Like with Peter Parker, there is going to be spoilers in this, so just a heads up, there's going to be spoilers in this one now. The fact that Peter Parker's relationship with MJ was not how most people saw it. They'd gone on a break. Yeah. It hadn't worked out. His kind of place with Dr. Octavius as well, because they do respect each other as minds, so it's very interesting to see that mentor-mentee relationship as well.
Yeah. There was some things I liked in the story, the things that changed. I really liked the Miles. I don't know a lot about Miles, and this was the first time that I got to see Miles as a character, and I like what they did with him. MJ, that's a hit and miss. I think some players might have liked her bits, some players might not.
Yeah, well, this is what I was going to touch upon with that is it shows the characters and also gives characters a different kind of spotlight as well. And what I do like about this is, for those who don't know, and I imagine more people know who Miles Morales is now with the new Into the Spider-Verse film as well. He is one of the alternative Spider-Mans who's, depending on which comic you read, who's in an alternative universe. Then I think there was another, I can't remember what it was. It was like Secret Wars or something, where he then came along to the main timeline as well. There's a lot about him. He's been around since, I want to say, 2010 or a bit before that. But I think it's great what they were trying to show with bringing these new characters was the gameplay for them. And as you said, they can be very hit and miss because of it. But the fact that they were trying to show different characters and they had different kind of aspects to them. Miles could hack things, but this is before he got his powers, compared to like MJ, who has to distract in different ways, and compared to Spider-Man, who can actually go into full combat, and Miles can only do a certain amount. I think there's a great way to show that these characters are different. It wasn't just, look, they're different, character models. They actually play different as well, and I think that was something that I really liked in terms of the design of that. But as you said, I think that was definitely a hit or miss kind of thing when you look at the feedback from the fans.
Honestly, I think it was more of a narrative issue that I had than an actual gameplay. The gameplay itself was alright. I understood it, that MJ is the stealth missions, Miles is the stealth / hacking. They were quite similar, but they had different ways of resolving it. They had different powers. And then you've got the straight up like hero swinging, fighting, combat whenever you played as Spider-Man, and then when you played as Peter, who I'm counting as a different character, was all slow and it was all story based. And then you had the mini games with the computers and the DNA and the chemical samples and stuff. So there was really, if you look at it, it was broken down into 4 different characters. If you count Peter and Spider-Man as 2 different characters, because they all did their own sections when you played as them.
I think that's something that, you've got to respect. Like I said, some of them definitely may have been hit or miss, but the one that you can respect Insomniac for was making sure that people knew, okay, yeah, this is Spider-Man, but also he had his alter ego. Yep. And then there were the other characters who were affected by Peter Parker being Spider-Man, And I think that was a great way of them not just showing it through cutscenes or stories. They actually took the time to make these come through, to make these sections for it,
Yep.
And I think that was, and Peter Parker is a very smart man. And I think that's something that they're showing, like you said, with the robotics and the DNA and these kind of mini games, And I think that was it. They're trying to show all these different sides. And when you break it down, I think there's a lot of diversity in terms of gameplay for it, which I think's sometimes not spoken enough about. Yeah, people can say that maybe they should have done things maybe slightly different, but at least, like we said before, they're trying with many different things, and I think that's great that they are doing all this amazing stuff.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, it's a great game. The way they brought in different elements and different game styles and made it quite cohesive was really, really intelligent. I was blown away by. I was like, okay, I get it. I'm going to be a hero. I'm going to have these combat elements. But how am I going to portray that he's intelligent? And in combat, you've got all these things you can pull down, so you can use the environment to also do damage. You don't just have to punch and kick. You've also got these gadgets you can throw out, so you're like, okay, he's using a bit of tech, he's intelligent. But then you've got these minigames that are quite similar to the ones in Bioshock with the chemicals and wasn't it like power flow? You had to get energy battery to the charger, but you had to work out if the power needed to be a certain amp or voltage, I think it was, where they had to reduce it and increase it. That was, if you had given me that in just an average game with no context, that would have been quite, I don't know, it wouldn't have felt like it fit. But because I'm playing Peter Parker and you're meant to be playing as someone intelligent, the gameplay feels intelligent in that way.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate, completely. I think that's one thing. I say that they're trying to show characters not just through story, like they're trying to show it through gameplay. So I agree with you, mate. I think it's great that we've done there.
Yeah.
And there's one thing I want to expand about, because you touched on it there with the combat and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't. So because like you said, you recommended this to me because I wasn't sure if I wanted to get it. I'd seen a bit of trailers and stuff, but I just was unsure. Mm-hmm. For those that don't know, I'm quite a big Spider-Man fan, but I don't know what it was. I just recently was just off him. Like, I didn't even see the Amazing Spider-Man film. It took me forever to watch Spider-Man Homecoming.
I get it. I mean, I know how big of a Spider-Man fan you are, but you have been let down in the past. So and just like all their gamers who've seen you've been let down too many times that you're just like, right, I'll give that one a miss until I see a few reviews. So I understand it.
And so that was it. And then a lot of people, from first glance, they were saying that the combat felt similar to that of Batman. And I had the pleasure to meet the lead combat designer once. We didn't talk about the combat of the game, but I just want to say this guy was massive, and I felt like he could put me into a pretzel at any moment. But very, very friendly guy, honestly. The dude was just jacked. But I was like, oh god, please don't kill me.
Interesting way of talking about him, but okay.
But like, one of the things that I thought was really cool with the combat, though, is like, I can see what people were saying at first glance. It feels like, Batman. But I will say it's the nuances that make it stand out differently. Yeah. Because, Batman's combat has been replicated in many other games, Shadow of Mordor, for example, and I'm sure there's many others. But what I liked about it was, it was about if you tapped or held a button, it would do something different. Most times you have, your light attack or your heavy attack assigned to a different button. Mm-hmm. But you'd react differently if you held down square compared to if you tapped it. Yep. And it was these sort of things that I thought was great in it, because then you could, just by, reacting by holding in a different way, I thought that was super cool because, like I said, you normally have your light and heavy attack, but the fact that they're integrating it in a different button press was fantastic, because you've got, different ways to now use this button to open it up to different combos, to different moves. And the fact that the animation team did a great job, because, I know Batman can move, but Spider-Man's such an agile character. Yeah. So when you've got one of his dodges where he like slides between the enemy's legs and stuff, that felt really cool. Yeah. Because it is Spider-Man, and I think they did a fantastic job with the combat,
Yeah, definitely. Unlike the Batman games in Arkham, when you counter, you're kind of like a brick. You just stand there and you just counter it and use a bit kung fu and slap the guy in the back of the head. But Spider-Man's not like that. He's, like you said, he's very agile. So sliding through the legs was a nice touch. Cartwheeling out the way. I can't remember what else he did, but he did a couple of things that were very impressive, and it wasn't just, you didn't get bored of the animations either. That was another thing, because Shadow of War, I quite like the game. Shadow of Mordor, I preferred that over Shadow of War, but you kind of got used to the counters. He did the same sort of stuff, and it might have been that I put about 200 hours into that game, but you do get used to the animation. You're like, right, finish the sequence, because you're already thinking ahead what you're going to do next. You don't want to see a counter sequence constantly. But Spider-Man, very quick, very nice to look at. It was good combat.
And I think also the variety of enemies available for that combat, you know, like some of them with the shields, you obviously had those with the guns, the big guys like Kingpin, all of that stuff there, you know, helps you to and forced you to use your movement in different ways. And one of the things that was nice, like building on what you were saying about planning with the counters, is if you timed a counter right, and I do like this because quite, you know, there's many different games that time it right as well. When you did it, you actually shot a web out and blinded an enemy, so then you could use that to your strategy. So not only was it felt cool and it went slow-mo that you timed everything correctly, but you've actually been rewarded by, you know, blinding someone. So it made you want to get the best counter at the right time because of this.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really nice. And then when you finished a combat encounter, you had the slow-mo, like, final punch or kick or whatever move to signify, okay, that's the end of the encounter you've completed, which is a nice way as well, I thought.
Yeah, it was all... The combat was, like you said, it's very reminiscent of the Arkham games. It's just been advanced upon. And just like any good mechanic, first-person shooters from the early Doom games have been replicated, and now you've got Call of Duty, and they're taking the best qualities from Arkham and then applying it to the Spider-Man games, and then saying, right, this is what we've got, here's the skeleton, let's put the flesh on and build a character out of this mechanic, which is the combat mechanic. Honestly, I think they did it well. There's some games that have tried to copy that and done it poorly, and I don't think Spider-Man's one of them. That's probably why we're talking about it. But yeah, honestly, the combat, it was good. It probably wasn't the bit that Drew was in, though, because a thing that I noticed was Spider-Man was incredibly weak. Like, he died after about 2 shots, and it was quite frustrating.
Do you mean in this game, sorry?
Yeah, in this game. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't know if I was just bad at the game, I was getting used to it, but early on, very early into the game, I was trying to be like, oh, I'll go take out Kingpin base. And the guys were just going, there's Spider-Man, and shooting us twice, and I was dying. I was like, what am I doing wrong? And it wasn't until much later into the game that I was like, oh, right. This is how...
I'm not a tank.
Turns out I'm not Batman or the Hulk or anyone else covered in armor. I'm a guy wearing spandex that does die in 2 shots. So I don't know if that was a conscious thing, or if maybe I was just bad at the game to begin with. I got better at the game, but yeah, to begin with, that was a bit of a learning curve. But again, I might just be bad at the game.
Love games? Love game design? We do too. So why not help us here at Level Design Lobby spread the word? With Patreon, from as little as $1 per month, you can do just that. And new for 2019, we have more reward tiers and even more awesome perks on offer, such as access to our community Discord, level design weekends, exclusive talks by professional designers, one-on-one sessions, and much more. Sound interesting? Then head on over to patreon.com/level design lobby for more information and to pledge your support today. As always, we'd like to say a massive thank you to all the game gurus who've backed us so far. It's thanks to your generous support that we can continue to grow, pursue new opportunities, and bring you new, awesome, and exciting content. So thank you. And now back to our regularly scheduled program.
But I think that's the thing. Like, I hope it was a conscious effort, but I do think that's a big thing, is because guns are very powerful. Because, you know, he's, at the end of the day, he does have superpowers, but he's still human.
Yeah.
And like, that was a big thing. And even, you know, the bit where, and this is spoilers, where the rally with Osborn, when that gets bombed as well, that, Peter Parker was taken out for a bit of the game there because of that, because he needed to heal and he was broken because of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that was a good thing for it. So, and there's a moment in the game where there's snipers all over the roofs later on. I think that builds upon the point of what you're saying is like, man, if I get hit by one of these snipers, that's almost half my health or so gone.
Yeah.
And even if you are leveled up,
yeah,
you still feel vulnerable.
Like, you've got ways of healing. You've got I can't remember what they call it. Like self-healing, spider healing, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Some silly name like that. But you've got these things that give you health, but I was very conscious of people with guns, more so than the big brutes. Because the big brutes, I knew I could slow them down, but if I wasn't paying attention to the gunshots and the line of fire and that, you're just getting wiped out straight. And I'm sure you don't get the ability to dodge the bullets until later in the game. I might be wrong, but I know you can dodge the bullets, but maybe you can counter.
Yeah,
I think you get counters later on when you level up. You can counter and shoot a web out, and you pull the gun off people, which helped. But to begin with, I was like, surely the gun shouldn't be this strong.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because I can't remember. Maybe because I was good at the game. No.
It's about time you were good at one game, I guess. But yeah,
and I still take 50 hours to complete.
Yeah, plus a year. But the part of the game that actually pulled me in the most, honestly, was how open it was. There's games like Grand Theft Auto and Saints Row and that, where they give you this great big island map, and a quarter of the map's open to you at the start of the game because there's a rally or a bridge needs to be built or something. But straight out the gate, I didn't want to do the missions. What I wanted to do was collect Spider-Man's backpacks, and I was able to go all the way around the map and just do that. And I was half expecting to get halfway down the map and then just be like, you have went into the red light district, and then just get nuked from orbit for no reason. Because that's what I've came accustomed of. There's a great big island to explore. You can't actually go into this area though until later on in the story. That's what I was expecting. There was either going to be an invisible wall or something else, and this game didn't have that, which actually really impressed us. And again, one of the elements of the game that's most fun is the swinging. It's not traveling. It's more fun than anything else I've played in games. Like, you get games like Grand Theft Auto and you've got to travel from one end of the map to the other on a mission. You go, this is going to be tedious. Red Dead, great game, but the way they've laid the missions out between each other is so far, and the traveling's so long. Spider-Man, I was hoping for missions to be on the other side of the map, because I was loving swinging between buildings, and when you go between water towers and you just zip through it, you go into like a spiral and you just fling through it. Just everything about it was really fun, and that's what I want in games. I want an element that just absorbs us, and I could just do that all day, and that's what Spider-Man had. The combat came second for me.
I completely agree with you, mate. Like, I think the swinging is fantastic, and if I'm remembering correctly, Spider-Man 2, the one that came out for PS2, was one of the best Spider-Man games prior to this one.
Yeah.
And because of the swinging was fun in that one. But in this one, like you're saying, it just feels so cool. Like, the animations, how you zip through parts of the water tower, where if you time your X when you land on a building, you can do one of those giant, like, push-offs, and then, zip through, like, by just pressing X in the air to, like, just do a quick shoot across. And then there's so much mastery to that, little nuances to it, with the fact when you've got to time with the physics. So if you time correctly on, like, either the peak of your swing or when you're coming down, that affects your momentum when you're going on that next swing. So you're trying to constantly time this to get better, so you can do that and then time these jumps, go through these and get that cool animation effect. All of that, and like we said earlier in the episode, that's just straight there from the get-go for you to play with. Obviously, there's the skill tree that you can upgrade to do stuff with it, but a lot of that cool stuff is already there from the beginning of you, timing it, what was it, with R2 on a certain ledge or peak to get that kickoff as well.
Yep.
There's just so much to it, and then holding, I think, is it L3? Where you just you're diving down in the air, you're just straight going down, like things like that, which I think just all make that, as you said, mate, fun to go through.
Yeah.
It's just so enjoyable.
Yep, definitely. There's a great video on YouTube for anyone that's interested, where, like you said, Spider-Man 2 is where they actually got the idea to make it this organic when swinging, and they brought in the dev that developed that.
Oh, really?
The Insomniac bring him in, and they go, yeah, you inspired us from this game. We'd like you to try out our game and see how our swinging compares to how yours did. And he loved it. He absolutely loved it. Like, he said he would just play the game swinging about, and that's what he did in Spider-Man 2. And this is the dev that developed that, which is crazy. Apparently he had developed it in the first Spider-Man game, but there was a time crunch and they weren't able to fit it in. So for the second game, this is basically what they built the game around, was this swinging mechanic. And he basically went off and did his own project and built renders of buildings, like big old block city. And he just made Spider-Man swing about, and he just took it to the people and were like, this is what I've made. And they were like, right, that's going to be the main mechanic in our game. So yeah, it's actually got quite a long life. So yeah, if anyone's interested, they'll check it out on YouTube. It's really good.
Alright, I'll get a link for that and put that down below.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, we're going to be wrapping up soon. Is there anything else, that you really want to talk about that really stood out to you, mate, within the game?
Just the story. The story was amazing. Like, there was parts of the story I said that I wasn't keen on. I felt like the Mary Jane stuff was very... They took an element of Peter Parker that they could have just done with Peter Parker, because he was a reporter. But because they went down the scientific route with him working with Dr. Octavius, I think they replaced the whole he worked for the newspaper. So maybe that's why they put Mary Jane in there. But I felt like that wasn't needed, really. I think Peter could have done those missions. But aside from that, I feel like it was a bad use of Mary Jane. I think you could have done better things with Mary Jane. But aside from that, the story was amazing. It's the first time I've ever actually seen Dr. Octopus as a bad guy. Like, I know he's a bad guy, and I bet there's people kicking off going, what? But when I was a kid, I remember reading the comics, because I read comics, because I'm cool in that. I just saw Dr. Octopus as like a little dumpy guy with 4 arms. Like, I never saw him as like a big bad guy. I was always a Venom or big brute things. Even the Kingpin was more intimidating to me. But this game, just what made him scary was his intelligence, and I guess that's what Dr. Octopus is about. But other games that have had him in, he's just been a big bad guy with 4 arms, and they've done him badly. This game, you can tell that everyone who worked on this game were fans of the comics. So yeah, that's the thing that stood out for me. Just the way that every character was done correctly. The Rhino, the Vulture, every one of them was great.
Yeah, man. I will say this as well. What I thought was really cool, because one of the most popular storylines, and it was really big in the comics, was the Sinister Six.
Yeah.
Obviously, they tried to do that in Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I thought what was really cool about this one, because it was their own kind of Sinister Six, was the fact that you had to fight 2 enemies at the same time, which, isn't always done for a boss battle.
Yeah.
And that was really awesome to see different things, like the elements of Shocker and Vulture combined, because I really liked that boss fight, because I felt like Spider-Man trying to zip through all this stuff, swinging around as much as I can, trying to focus on one, and then Vulture dives in on me.
Yeah. That
was really, really well done. Then you obviously had the Rhino and Scorpion.
Yep.
That was nice. I think there were some really nice moments with those bosses put together that blew me away.
Yeah, the boss fights were fun. They were well designed. You come across boss fights in games, and if they're not done correctly, they're just hit points. That's all they feel like. They just feel like, right, I've got to repeat the same motion 4 times. But like you said, when you're zipping about, and you're avoiding damage from one person, and then you're getting attacked by another. It's very engaging for the player. Oh, I thought it was anyway. It reminds us of the Dark Souls boss battle, Smog and Ornstein. You fight two people, I think that's the names anyway, and you fight two of them, and they're hard individually, but together they're insane. And that's what it felt like with some of these boss fights. Like you had to know the move patterns for not just one boss, but for two. So it was good.
Yeah, mate.
Good boss fights.
I agree, and that's also a big thing to pick up on is each of them had different move patterns. Like you said, it wasn't recycled. It was, right, this guy moves like this, like especially when it came to Rhino and Scorpion.
Mm-hmm.
Because Rhino's trying to attack you on the ground level, and then Scorpion's jumping from, shipping container to shipping container.
Yep.
And then he'll land on the ground and then retreat.
Yeah.
And that was, you said, you got to learn these patterns and time it to make sure you're clear in one space, but now can do this against the other,
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I agree with you, mate. That was really, really well done for it all, which was great.
Yep, definitely. Honestly, the game was fantastic, mate. I'm sure all the listeners that have played the game will agree. We should really pick up the DLC and check that out.
Yes, yeah, that's something I haven't done either. But because I liked Black Cat, I know she's in one of the DLCs, and I liked her little collectible stuff. And then when you got the suit for it as well, I thought that was really nice.
Mm-hmm. Normally, I'm not a big fan of the Do you know when games have got collectible missions in it? I feel like the time sinks. I wasn't that keen on the Batman ones, like the Riddler puzzles. I wasn't keen on them.
Trophies,
but every single one in this game it felt fun. The only ones that put us off were the Osborn scientific ones, but then I realized they weren't going to be the same thing. Like, I thought it was going to be go here and then you have to stop a gas leak, and I was like, this is going to be boring if I have to do this 8 times. But then the next one was you have to play as a drone and chase a cat or something. Like, you had to chase a guy that had stolen something. Like, there were fun little side missions, and then I prefer if games do that. Like, if they've got extra elements, like, yes, they're trophies or you're hunting for something, but there's something fun added to it. That's always good. But
I agree, mate. I think that's one of the things that they did super well is, again, it's that contextualization through gameplay, so it doesn't feel like it's the same collectible.
Yeah.
Like collecting a backpack felt different to either doing an Osborne or getting the pigeons or, Black Cat's, tags and stuff.
Yeah.
They had different gameplays in it for that. And also, it worked in the world. It wasn't just, here's a trophy.
Yeah.
It was like, no, like, these things work because these characters have left a mark or something. It's actually how they are.
Which one was it? I think it was the second Arkham City, where it's like, here's a Riddler trophy, and you have to drive your car like 8 miles through tunnels. It's like, how did he set this up? Like, why? Why did he... And I get it, he's the Riddler, but why did he set this up? Why? This would only ever be in a game to be difficult. Like, this would never be feasible. Whilst the ones in Spider-Man, like, it's Black Cat and just left like a little cat China doll. Like, and you just have to find it. Like, it's a fun little... Yeah, it's a time killer, but it's fun. And it's not... I have set up a course of driving down the sewer pipes, avoiding acid. What?
I agree. Like, it's... That was not Riddler in his best character, because his previous other 2 games or 3 games... they were actual, like, thought puzzles.
Yeah.
But as you said, they work because the characters work like that in the universe.
Yeah.
So, this is where we are going to wrap it up, though. So, thank you very much for joining us, Liam. Thank you again for coming on the show, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, mate. Anytime.
No problem. Okay, everyone. So, if you do like this, thank you very much. If you haven't already, do check out the Patreon. We do some amazing stuff to help improve people's work on level and game design. You can also join the great Discord with an amazing community that we have. And if you want to reach out to me, then you can do so on Twitter @MaxPairs, or do email in leveldesignlobby@gmail.com. And if you're listening to this through YouTube, please subscribe. Or if you're listening to this on a podcasting app, please rate the podcast 5 stars, as that will help spread the goodwill of the Level Design Lobby. So thank you all very much, and we will catch you all next time.